Welcome back, ink drinkers, for section 3 of Katabasis by R.F. Kuang. When we last left Alice and Peter
And Elspeth.
and Elsbeth, they were on Elsbeth's ship, the Nurath, and kind of plotting against her to get their way out of hell.
Poor Alice. So impressionable.
I know. I don't understand how Alice can trust people in hell. I mean, she's in hell. Like, that doesn't seem intuitive. But they are planning, Alice at least, is trying to get Peter to help her steal the Dilithia so that they can make their way out. But while we are seeing that, we're also getting other glimpses of hell. We see like there's a description of the Lethe and how they see like people in the water, and that made me think of like Disney's Hercules when like they're in hell and you see all the souls. So getting an idea of that, and like one question I had was like, how does gravity work? Like, do you just like see things how you would expect to see them in hell, or is there like a difference there? Because we see like differences in like um staircases or that type of thing. Like, how do all of these things work together?
It's an interesting question. Yeah, I see, and I didn't. That did not pose a question in my brain. I definitely went the route of like seeing the water in its different states when she was describing it, like the memories, those faces she was seeing it when they were like happier, more fresh memories. It was like a lot calmer. And then there was a mention of like when a nightmare or like a bad memory was in the Lethe, you saw this like torrent, like this big like disruption to the water and everything. So I was really interested in how that affected the Lethe itself.
That is an interesting phenomenon, and I like how R.F. Kuang like described that. I also thought it was really interesting how Elspeth used the memories in the Lethe to like see how things had changed.
Yeah.
And like she asks like, did they really kill John Lennon, or like different clothing and different like fashions and things like that. Like, she can see the technology changes
Yeah.
in the memories,
Yeah.
and I felt like that was so like resourceful
Yeah.
of her.
She there was a quote where she said, it's like the television channel of the underworld. I was like, oh my gosh, it is. It's your only form of social media.
And that's like, to think of like hell technology, or like just like
Yeah.
how a window into how things are going on Earth. Because like we kind of, just to like bring it back around, we kind of see how things change at the beginning too, in the discussions of the shades in line
Yes.
at the very beginning, and like how, oh, they're talking about birth control and there's lots of less children, or like vaccines, there's lots of there's been a decrease in child shades here just by the different technologies. So like seeing how different parts of hell see different progressions is really, really interesting to me. And then we start to see a little bit more about the crypt keys and how they aren't afraid of the Lethe, and they even talk about like maybe they drink from it.
Yeah.
And how, like, my biggest question was like, how are they unaffected, or at least like not dissolving, because they like talk about people dissolving in the waters of the Lethe.
Yeah, like you can't pick and choose what memories or what parts are being dissolved when you are touched by or, affected by the Lethe itself or whatever. And Alice even quoted, though, because this is where, I don't know, Alice just makes me feel sad for her, for the way that, like, she internalizes and even, like, characterizes herself. She says, why wouldn't everyone strip away the parts of themselves that caused them pain? Like, we know from the outside looking in at this story that they don't get to pick and choose what gets stripped from you. The Lethe is going to take it all in whatever random order it's going to take it and everything. She continues to say, you could achieve so much without the burdens of personhood. Who wouldn't wash away the rest?
that was one of the questions I posed and I would pose to everybody reading, and I think the author is kind of forcing you to think about by
Yeah.
bringing this up is would you wash away the bad parts, and what do the bad memories
Mhm.
um do for you,
Yeah.
or like serve purpose in your life. And personally, there are definitely things that are not great that I don't like to think about,
Mhm.
loss, grief, things like that. But I think each one of those things has taught me something.
Yeah.
And I don't think if I wash those things away, I would be the same person.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. They do a lot of character building as awful as some of those things may be
mhm,
and everything. Like you gain some sort of resilience. They help form the person that you are over time.
mhm,
Um, and I think this is one of those moments where we realize with Alice that she hasn't been able to see that yet in herself. That the
mhm.
things that she has been through, like she doesn't see the strength behind that yet. She just
Yeah.
is still seeing them as a weakness.
Mhm.
And so she rather wash away that weakness
Yeah.
to be able to just achieve, achieve, achieve.
And I think she's so focused on her goals and like perception of who she is
Hmm.
that she doesn't want anybody to see those things, and if those
Hmm.
things are gone she's not as worried about them. um, we see her so many times up until this point
Yeah.
with the anxiety spirals and things like
Yeah.
that, and like if she could just wash those things away she could be even more focused, and I don't think she realizes how that could be also a detriment in her development. But then it's like we're heading to wrath, we're passing greed, and we
Yeah.
don't really like I feel like we don't get a huge stop in greed. We just
No,
kind of
we
like
just like
see
see
it,
it by. It's just a desert.
and but you kind of see how some of the shades are acting
Hmm.
in greed and how they're just like trying to hoard everything, and it's
Yeah.
just like it's sad.
Yeah. And I think Elsbeth mentions that like the shades don't talk at all in greed. There's some sort of mention of
Mhm.
like nobody speaks to each other in greed.
Unless it's like yelled at something's
Yeah.
theirs. Like,
Yeah.
and that's like, oh, it's just so sad. Um, but we also get to see interaction with like Peter and Elspeth, and her talking about why she doesn't want to reincarnate and how Peter
Hmm.
doesn't understand why she wouldn't do that.
Hmm.
And I feel like that reveals a lot about him and how he like views things. He's so concerned with his research and he like disregards relationships or like
Hmm.
simple luxuries, and that's why Elsbeth said she's like, no, I want to find my way back because I have a
Hmm.
family and I want to just like sit on the hill. Is it a hill? And like eat a bun
Yeah.
and in the
Ham and cheese
sun.
toasty.
Oh, that's what it is. She wants to just like eat this simple meal and enjoy the sun on her face.
Mm,
And like those are the things that she misses and she wants to get back to.
yeah.
And he's like, "Well, why wouldn't you just reincarnate?" And she's like, "But I have all of these people and all of these
Yeah.
things and I don't know what will come of me if
Yeah.
I reincarnate."
Well, and she's also had a long time removed from it too, to be able
Mhm.
to think back on that versus him, like he willingly made the choice to come to hell for a very different motive and everything. And yes, we do see his like silver spoon upbringing kind of thing where
Mhm.
like man versus woman in the field of
Mhm.
academia and everything. So there is a difference there as well. But also to think that like she's had the time to really internalize this as she's been in hell and what
Mhm.
her incentive is to get back.
Yeah.
And he but we see the difference in their incentives, their motives there.
Mhm.
Um, you know, he's had everything handed to him where, you know, she's had the time to think through like, no, these are the things that I've missed in life that I want to get back to.
Mhm.
And he just rather have a chance to see what else would be there.
But she's also actually dead and
Yes,
he's
he's not.
not, and I think that also lends a little bit to that perspective. Like, you didn't commit suicide, like you
Hmm.
didn't put yourself here, you did in a way, but it's
Not in a sane.
assumed that you will go back, right?
Hmm.
It's not, this is, I was sent here because I died and now I have to find like a way back.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I'm here, I'm going to get my professor and then I'm going to go back to my normal life. And I think that also might play a little bit into it, but the fact that he's like, "Oh, you just aren't going to reincarnate? Like what?"
Mhm.
Um and we saw that earlier too with the shades at the beginning. The first victims we saw at the very beginning by the line
Mhm.
was that they didn't want to reincarnate either because they were more interested in the research, but still, like, people have a hard time letting go of
Mhm.
the past. And I think we even see that a lot in Alice and how she keeps defending
Yeah.
Grimes and all of those things, which, well, I might be getting ahead of myself. There was one quote about wrath that I really enjoyed in this chapter. And let's see what page it was on. It was on page 276. For it was the first time a poet seemed to understand that wrath was not merely external, was not just a screaming, raving tornado of destruction. Sometimes you swallowed it down like a hot coal. Sometimes it only ever burned you slowly from the inside out until you choked. And I think that is
Mhm.
a very interesting quote because a lot of people, when they picture wrath, it's like the wrath of God, or it's something coming down upon you or enacting it like physically, but really it can be something that's deep seated and like
Mhm.
warring within you, and nobody would even know that
Yeah.
you're full of wrath.
Mhm.
Which I thought was a really interesting depiction and something people don't always think
Yeah.
about.
So as they're continuing, they're having these discussions, but Alice's real motive is to get Peter to leave the conversation, because he is going to go make the liar's paradox pentagram
Mhm.
to trap Elspeth in.
Mhm.
And in order to do that, Alice wants tea.
Mhm.
She asks Elspeth if she's got the capabilities. Like, I'm missing home. Like, can you make tea? Because she had made it the night before for them,
I can't
or
remember.
mentioned it. She had
Mm.
mentioned making it. And so we see Alice and Elspeth, because you need heat to be able to make tea.
Mhm.
We see them go just offshore, um, because she needs the heat source. And I'm going to butcher this, but in Greek mythology, we see Phlygus,
Maybe.
maybe, he's a Greek mythology, from Greek mythology. He's cast into the underworld for setting fire to Apollo's temple,
Mhm.
and he symbolizes wrath and justice. So we're seeing him right outside of wrath, so it
Mhm.
ties in there. He's known for that fiery substance and everything. And as he's stepping, his footprints are leaving the heat behind, and she's able to collect those coals to be
Mhm.
able to create the heat. So that kind of like gives them like this pathway to like all kind of separate, for like Peter to have this excuse to go out and
Mhm.
about, and everything, so that they can get this plan in action for Alice and this betrayal and everything.
Mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, the whole time this is going down, first of all, it felt like such a fickle plan to
Oh,
me,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, very thin.
it's not going to go well.
Mhm.
Your reader gut's like, oh, honey,
Mhm.
no, she's smarter than this. Come on.
Mhm. So, she goes out there, she's grabbing everything. To me, like, she has taken them in, she
Mm,
saved them from something, she's been showing them so much hospitality, and they
yeah.
are stabbing her in the back, and that fills me with wrath,
Yep.
okay? Like, I it makes me so angry, that they are trying to trick her out of her way
Mhm.
out, and it's like, you guys put yourself in this situation. You should figure yourself out. She's being nice to you. And
Mhm.
she just like leaves them on the boat to go get the heat source. And like, she's trusting them. Girl, you're in hell. Like, stop trusting random
Yeah.
people. Especially when they are trying to find their way out and you have mistakenly told them that you have a thing that could get you out of here.
Yes.
Um, I love that Archimedes kind of steps in and like
Mhm.
he knows like he has a sense about
Oh yeah,
it.
the look of judgment that he's giving Alice the
Deserved.
whole time,
Mhm.
and even leading up to that too, you could tell that Elspeth knew something was up, because well, and maybe because she just doesn't have tea in hell either, but the tea she made was like water and pebbles. Like it wasn't even
Mhm.
actual tea. And Alice is drinking it like, yeah, this is great. And I was just like waiting for her to fess up, like,
Hmm.
no, it's not. Like, I'm,
See, I wasn't sure if that was that or if it's because she's dead, she can't taste things. And so she
oh,
didn't
see,
know.
okay.
It could be either way, though,
Yes, it could.
really, because I was like, well, she's dead and they don't eat. So maybe she
That's
can't
true.
taste the fact that it's not
Yeah.
tea.
Tea.
But it could
Yep.
also have been like, girl, you are not that smart. You like, you think you have me. And she even says it, I'm a Grimes student. Don't you
Right.
remember? Because remember, she doesn't know that they
Nope.
are also Grimes students because they lied to her.
Yep. She's about
So,
to find out very quickly.
like, yeah, what what are they thinking?
Yeah. And so this is that moment where Archimedes comes in, and
Mhm.
instead of saving Alice and Peter, he's saving Elspeth this time.
I don't blame him.
No.
I would too. They're
Um,
doing something wrong.
and, is able to bring her attention to the fact that there is, in fact, underneath the little mat at the kitchenette
Mhm.
area, is the unfinished, smudged Liar's
Mhm.
Paradox pentagram, and everything. And so she gets furious. She has every right to be furious with them,
Yeah.
and finally confronts them about, like, why are you actually here?
Mhm.
And Alice still doesn't want to tell them. It's Peter that finally says, we're here for Grimes. And her furiousness turns to, we'll say it, wrath.
Yeah.
I mean, wrath.
Mhm.
And then I found it very interesting and also beautiful at the same time. Um, the way like her body, like as she's like yelling at them to get off the boat and everything, but like
Mhm.
parts of her body exploding into these butterflies,
Butterflies. Mhm.
was just, I mean, it was beautiful in that moment.
Mhm.
Like you usually see, like they described in the quote that you had said, wrath is this fiery,
Mhm.
destructive kind of thing. Like she's been in hell for so long, she's
Yeah.
figured out how to manipulate her own substance
Yeah.
to the point where like she's transmuting into butterflies
Butterflies.
in this
Mhm.
moment and everything. So, with every justification in the world, she kicks them off of her boat and says, "You figure it out."
Well, too, she makes a great point. What the hell are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Get a new advisor. Like,
Yep.
why would you come down here to get him? That doesn't make sense. You
Yeah.
know this like could have been easily fixed and you made this like ultimate sacrifice. What are you
Yeah.
doing? Um and honestly, after seeing Elspeth and the whole like character that she's been,
Yes.
I want to know what court she's bound for. I know that's like
Mm-hmm.
taboo to like ask,
Yeah.
but I want to know why she's there. Is it merely because of the way that she died?
Yeah.
Is it, I feel like a lot of these students in this program that we've seen, they
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of pride. They have a lot of, you
Mm-hmm.
know, cruelty or whatever. They have these elements, but seeing her now,
Yeah.
where is she on her path to, I don't know if rehabilitation is the right word, but like
Redemption.
her transcript, like
Yeah.
where is she at,
Yeah.
because she needs, I feel like she seems like a good person, and
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad that they did this to her. One quote I did want to bring up before we move on to the next chapter that she says is that hell's not so bad for the people who are in it. They're
Mm-hmm.
exactly where they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's a great point. The people that are
Mm-hmm.
there are doing the same things that they did
Yep.
in life in these courts,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not changing or moving forward because they're doing the same things they
Yeah.
did before and they want to do them.
And they're
So,
not choosing reincarnation.
mhm. So here we are. She's kicked them off the
Yep.
boat, and what are we gonna do now?
Yeah. Well, what are we going to do now? Well, Peter, at the very start of the next chapter, was like, well, good luck to you, Alice.
Hmm.
He's ready to leave her high and dry. He is also beyond furious with Alice because he feels still betrayed. He's still angry with her,
Yes.
and everything. So he's ready to give it up. Like we're first now seeing for the first time with him that that he's really questioning
Mhm.
the journey that they have, embarked on and everything. They're
Mhm.
questioning each other's motives
Mhm.
behind their um, adventure
Mhm.
to go back and get Grimes.
Mhm.
And before they can really get much further into this conversation, they get attacked by shades
Mhm.
right here in this bog
Mhm.
outside of Wrath.
Right.
Um, and I found it interesting because you had brought up the Hercules, like
Oh, yeah.
River of Souls, because I was like, oh my gosh, look at us. But this part right here, when we're seeing the shades that are in the bog, they're coming up
Mhm.
out of the water
Mhm.
itself. Um, this actually made me think of the dead marshes in Lord of the Rings,
Mm.
because there are unburied remains of all sorts of different creatures in this
Right,
scene:
right.
elves, men, orcs from an ancient battle. They're preserved. Their faces are just floating there and everything. And to those that are walking through, you're not supposed to like stare into the faces because they
Mhm.
lure you in, and
Mhm.
that's what's happening here.
Yeah.
Peter's not affected, but Alice is.
Mhm.
And she's just like, Frodo in Lord of the Rings. She's being like sucked in by
Mhm.
all of this, and they're having to, Peter has to go in and rescue her. And so like this was very reminiscent of that scene to me.
Mhm.
It definitely took me back to one of those moments and everything. And in this, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a big deal, but I feel like it is. Peter loses his backpack in this. Like
Yeah.
all of his food supplies, his research notes, his map, all
Mhm.
of his provisions, his source of chalk,
Yeah.
everything is gone
Yeah.
because
That's
they were fighting in the bog.
mhm. And supplies are a big deal here. They've
Hmm.
talked about that and they've mentioned it several times at this point. We only have so much chalk. The
The lumbus
her
bread.
the lembas bread, the flasks.
Hmm.
His was the main
Yeah.
one, and then they had to like double up to make hers and get hers
Yeah.
back to the being able to drink from it. Um, and so that's probably gonna bite them in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, we also see that Peter really wants to, once they kind of like get out of this situation and they're able to continue their conversation, Peter wants to turn back. He doesn't want to continue the journey looking for Grimes anymore. Um, we're seeing him have an actual fear of death for the first time.
Mhm.
He actually says the words like, I don't want to die.
Mhm.
Like, what are we doing here? I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And Alice is still persistent. Like, no, we came here for something. Like,
Mhm.
we need we need to finish it. How are we going to get out of here otherwise? Which
Mhm.
to a point I see. Like you
Yeah.
can't just backtrack and there's going to be a magical door that lets you back out of hell. Like that's not how it works.
Mhm.
You do have to find a different way out and everything. Um and so they come up with this compromise that didn't really feel like a compromise if you think about it.
Mm.
Their compromises will go as far as tyranny. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, they're outside of Wrath and there's only four courts left:
Yep.
violence,
Mhm.
cruelty, tyranny, and then the nameless last court.
Yep. Mhm.
So you're just not going to go to the nameless last court? It just doesn't
Mm.
feel like a compromise to me. It feels like
Mhm.
Alice is just going to get her way,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Peter is once again just capitulating to her.
Oh, I think she's manipulating him.
Yeah.
I think she's like, well, it's one of those things where it's like, you're already here, we might as well
Hmm.
do it. It's like if you've ever worked like in retail and somebody calls in sick and so they go around everybody and they're like, "How about you work a couple extra hours? You're already here." And you're more likely
Hmm.
to say yes. Like, "Yeah, sure, that's fine." I feel
Hmm.
like she figured that was something that was going to happen if I can just get him to tyranny, I bet I can get him to go through the
Yep.
whole thing. And I can't, obviously, she
Yep.
knows by now she can't get through it without him
Yep.
because he's covered her bacon several times
Yes.
throughout this journey.
I honestly think she would be dead way before now without him.
Oh yeah, I agree. He has a lot of knowledge. Again, they looked at different
Yes.
sections of the
Research.
research,
Mhm.
and so he knows some things, she knows some things, and only together are they going to get through it.
Yeah.
One thing I'm kind of sad about is like the courts are getting shorter. Like
Yeah.
we barely saw anything with greed, we barely saw wrath, and now we only have 4 courts left.
Yep.
We still have like no idea what's going on with Grimes, and Alice is still showing sympathy for
Oh my
Grimes.
gosh. She's
She
infuriating with
she
this.
literally, like, a quote I wrote down was, he's a tragically flawed, a man who made mistakes on his journey to greatness, never malicious, only careless. And I'm like, that's not what I'm getting
Mm-mm.
from all of the glimpses we have into his past,
No.
so
Mm-mm.
up to this point.
No.
And I'm like, he's he's definitely careless, but also seems quite malicious in the things that he
Yeah.
does.
Well, and to piggyback off that, the quote I wrote down about Grimes that she said here, because she's thinking about his sins and once again still excusing his behavior.
Of course.
She says, "Only a man whose mind was larger than the rest, a genius burdened with purpose, who
Mm.
couldn't spare attention for the damage he left in his wake."
Yeah, that's
I'm like, you're completely excusing all of the awful things, like, and you're fully aware, like, you're recognizing that you're aware and you're
mhm.
making it okay.
And that it's okay for him to leave damage in his wake.
Yes.
If you are that astute, you
Yes.
should be able to recognize when you're leaving damage and minimize
Mhm.
that. And that's ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Um
So this is the other part here before we move into the next chapter, because Peter once again
mhm.
is the one that realizes um that, hey, like, I've seen that rock before.
Yep.
Hey, I've
Mhm.
seen that rock before. Hey, that's the same rock we just saw. And realizes that they've got stuck in this loop, um, an illusion, as you might say, big old
Mhm.
illusion, hint, 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 the
Yeah.
crypt keys,
Mhm.
that they are stuck in Penrose Stairs, which
Mhm.
is an illusion that the crypt keys were known for.
Mhm.
They dominated the field in and everything. And so Alice is like, no, we can't be, we can't be, we can't be. Finally realizes it, catches on as well, and everything. And so, Alice in her panic is like, oh God, how are we going to, get out of this one? And this is the moment, and I'm like, this is so Peter, where he finally admits to her, I know, you know what? He's frustrated. And he's letting it all out. He goes, the only reason you're here is because you're in love with Grimes.
Oh yeah.
And that's like a bombshell for Alice because Peter's perception, the
Mhm.
interactions he's seen, and we haven't gotten Peter's
No. Perspective.
perspective,
Mhm.
which I really want. I would like to have seen some more through his eyes and everything. Um, we've been mostly through Alice,
Oh
if
yeah.
not all.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
all through
Mhm.
Alice. Um, and so Alice's rebuke here, which is also a bombshell for Peter, and she's like, I didn't love him. I'm here because I feel guilty because I killed him
Mhm.
and everything. So we're finally getting in a moment of terror, panic, desperation,
Mhm.
some honest answers between our two
Mhm.
main characters to each other.
Yes. And I think it's really interesting to see Peter's perception of Alice. And he's like, oh, you're in love with him. He favored you because you
Yeah.
had some type of relationship. And she saw him as the
Yep.
favorite. And I kind of suspected this
Hmm.
earlier, is that he was pitting them against each
Yeah.
other and saying, because he said to her, he's the standard. You need to make
Yes.
sure you're keeping up with him.
Keeping up with him.
And um when when Peter kind of thought it was weird and that
Mhm.
she was the favorite, like I was like, oh, this is a Grimes thing. He's pitting them against each other
Yeah.
because if he knows if they worked together, they would be better than him. Or at least that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And so he needs to make sure that they are opposing forces.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I also I just want to say I really liked Escher paintings as a kid. So like getting that in there was really cool and like it really helps you
Yeah.
visualize what they're doing. Um and I think it's really like here we are in this. They realize what's going on. They're in
Mhm.
this trap. And I feel like this is common, especially in like grad school and in any type of academic setting, is that like you can study something
Mhm.
so closely and think you know everything about it and feel like an expert, but then when it comes to like
Yeah.
doing it in practice, the stakes change.
Yeah.
And so they're in this something they've studied for years
Yeah.
and now they're like panicking because oh my god, what do I do? This is actually
Yeah.
happening, instead of in a safe academic setting where they know somebody will be able to help them get out and they have to get themselves out. And that's like almost paralyzing. And
Yeah.
that's where we get them finally talking.
Yeah.
Hello, miscommunication,
Mhm.
our
Mhm.
favorite. Anyway, um, how are we gonna go from here? But then I feel like moving into the next
Yeah.
chapter, we get a flashback and
Yes.
we are with Alice
Oh my god, yes. Oh,
and
yeah.
mm, chapter 20 felt
Heavy.
heavy
Very.
and I
And the
was
fact
not
that
ready.
I was not ready, and the fact that she's opening up this much to Peter
Mhm.
about this,
Mhm.
wow. Like, I remember having to, like, when I got to the end of this chapter, I was like, okay, and this is where I need a break from the book for a minute because
Yes.
this was, I mean, it took my, like, I needed a moment to, like,
Mhm.
wrap my brain around just the level of it.
Oh yeah. And we start out like talking about how long it's taken for women to be allowed
Yes.
to be educated.
Yep.
Um and we see the argument, and this might ruffle a few feathers, but we see the argument of like feminism is ruining my life, and
Mhm.
that drives me nuts. Um,
Mhm.
Seeing that as an argument, like, oh, you radical feminist women are crazy and all of this stuff, but really, women would not be able to work. We would not be able
Mhm.
to be educated. We would not be able to have a bank account or a credit
Mhm.
card without, or
Mhm.
a vote without suffragettes and
Yeah.
women pushing for equality.
Yeah.
Um, don't I won't get too far on my soapbox, but like being looked down on for
Mhm.
pushing for equal rights, and we see that here is just oh,
Yeah.
it gives me the ick.
Yeah. So we get a very close insight to the Grimes Alice relationship and how
Mm-hmm.
much I will say both of them were trying to take advantage of the situation because there
Mm-hmm.
is some where Alice is, I mean, at one point she even says like she was trying to figure out like how to walk this line
Mm-hmm.
because she knew in order to get somewhere in academia that this was the line that she had to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a line that should be there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we see, well enough of a relationship in the sense of like scholar and mentor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where she's doing what she's supposed to do for her field and everything like that, going to the parties, writing the papers, doing
Mm-hmm.
the classwork and things like that. But then there's the moment where Grimes um, starts making advances towards her because, oh, I've seen how you look at me and all these things. And Alice clearly tells him no,
Mm-hmm.
clearly is pushing him away or whatever. And this is where we get Peter's misperception
Mhm.
of the situation because he inadvertently was working and walks in and thinks that it is a mutual
Yes.
situation, but it
Mhm.
is not. And he sneaks out, made his assumptions there. You can assume
Mhm.
that that's what
Yeah.
he's not really
Mhm.
aware and everything. And then you see Alice's perspective of her brain reeling over this. She's no longer going to be his favorite. She's waiting for his retaliation. She's
Mhm.
worried about other people's perspective on her.
Mhm.
We see Peter start becoming the new favorite amongst everybody else.
Mhm.
And it's really taking a toll on Alice. And then she goes and seeks counsel with another one of the advisors, with Helen Murray.
Mm.
And it's frustrating. I wrote down quite a long quote that Helen says.
Mhm.
It's like it's a big conversation
Yeah.
across an entire page, and I just took snippets of it and put it together and everything because it really did stand out to me when she's explaining all of this, giving Alice her options. You can switch advisors, you can report him and fight this
Mhm.
and all these kinds of things, or you can forget about it. Like you
Mhm.
have to decide, do you really want the fair treatment or do you
Mhm.
want what you see as equality?
Mhm.
And notice how she said you see as equality
Yeah. Mhm.
and everything. So Helen, as she's explaining this, the past versus present women generations, in
Mhm.
her view, I'm going to quote the book because this one, it just really, really, really stuck with me. She
Mhm.
said, "Girls like you despise women like me. You think we are wrong to insist on the differences of our sex. You find our activism embarrassing. You think we complain too much. You've never known a locked door. Your mothers were educated, your school's co ed,
Mhm.
and so you think the whole world is open to you. You want to wear slacks and shirts without bras and drink all night long with the boys, and you want everyone to treat you just the same. The difference between women like me and girls like you is that we always understood the battle was never over. Your cohort has chosen to live like the rules don't apply to you, and it seems to work. I salute you, girls. I support you. I wish I could have done the same. But you can't just cry wolf when things don't go your way. What you must realize, Alice, is that you cannot just take refuge in feminism when it suits you."
I also wrote down the beginning of that quote of her um, talking about how girls like you despise women like me, and how people are like, some young women are saying they older women activists, people who are,
Mhm.
labeled with a derogatory feminist, um, they think they complain too much and all of that, and they don't consider how much benefit they've reaped from those women's work.
Mhm.
But at the same time, um, when it's older women like that and they feel bitter, because
Mhm.
I think there is a bitter tone to what she
Says
says,
yes.
um, part of me wants to look at those women and say that's not how you recruit them to the movement. That is not
Mhm.
how you bring people in and help them understand like why this is important.
Mhm.
And this is very common. This is very common in professional fields. This is very common in academia. How some women will perpetuate the misogyny to some
Mhm.
degree and not like share in the understanding of what feminism is, why it's important, why your perception of it ruining your life
Mhm.
is misled, or you're being misguided in those things. And so for her to be like, "Oh, you hate old women like me,"
Mhm.
it just made me feel like she was ostracizing Alice from feminism more
Mhm.
rather than bringing her in. Does she have a point of you? You never had to experience what I had to experience. Um, yes, but also that's why you fought for it.
Mhm.
You did all of that work and
Yeah.
pushed and tried to and busted open those doors so
Yep.
that girls could live like that.
Mhm.
And for you to like shame her for it
Mhm.
bothers me.
Yeah.
Um yes, those are her options.
Yeah.
Did she have to portray them like that? I don't think
No, I
so.
don't think so. And it's heartbreaking too that she went to a female advisor asking for the support for a sounding board and didn't really get a solid
Mhm.
way out of it,
Mhm.
you know? Like, yes, does Alice make the choice to brush it underneath the rug? Yeah, but
Yeah.
it is assault.
Well, and then to go the opposite direction. Well, maybe I'll try to wear the shorter skirt. Maybe
Mhm.
I'll try to regain his eye
Yeah.
so that I can fix this because I still want what I want, and it seems like now he's going to be completely hands off and not get
Yeah.
me further.
Yep.
And I also think it's interesting that she was in this, well, I mean, we kind of expected it was
Yeah.
inevitable for her to get into this situation, but she had seen what was it, the secretary in him before, like,
Yes.
so she knew he was kind of like
Yeah.
creeping around and
With youngers. Yeah. Absolutely.
and what happened to that girl, like she disappeared not too long after that, not
Mhm.
like disappeared, but like
She just left. Yeah.
she wasn't in the department anymore. And so like she knew what could happen,
Mhm.
and so that's like what she saw.
Yeah.
um and
So,
then she starts like, one of the scariest parts to me was like her rationalizing suicide.
yes.
um that, while it was real, like, I
Mhm.
hope anybody who's listening and decided to read this check their trigger warnings
Yeah.
beforehand, but like listening to her rationalize it was like
Yeah.
a severe gut punch because it
Yeah.
was so realistic.
Yes, it was. And I think the part that that got to that like hit the hardest was that it wasn't the actual like touch, like the physical interaction that happened. It was the shame that she felt that
Mhm.
led to that ideation and
Mhm.
everything. Um to the point where like she couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep, she started losing all of her hair. Like it led
Mhm.
to all of that stress, and that's what made her start. I mean, she even said it and like the way it was written in the book, dreaming of dying
Mhm.
and everything. So it's like Peter's perception is that she's in love with this man, and so that's why she's here in hell to get him and everything. But
Mhm.
really, she's in this ungodly cycle of
Mhm.
abuse
Yep.
that she feels guilty for killing the man over. And she's here to try to bring him back. Now, is it real guilt or is it revenge?
Mm. I don't, regardless of her
Yeah.
motivations for this, she was obviously struggling.
Yes.
And why did he trust her work? That's my question. Is like he could tell she was disheveled.
Mhm.
She was
But I don't think he paid attention to that.
you don't have to spend 5 minutes with her
Mhm.
to understand something's off. And
Mhm.
if you are doing something that could potentially kill you, I think you might notice her being a little out of sorts, although he never checked anybody's
Mm-mm.
work. So it's like,
He
I don't
didn't.
understand why he would even trust her work. And if he thought that he was being retaliatory because she
Said no.
shooed his attentions, why would he have her drawing pentagrams for her either?
Mhm.
Because that does give you the opportunity to kill someone. So like,
Well, I think it was a form of punishment for her too, because I think if I'm recalling back to the very, very, very beginning of the book when we're finding out that she was making the pentagram, she had said that that was below her level and
mm,
everything. Like it would have been somebody else,
mhm,
but he was having her do it for his lecture
mm,
and everything. So I think it was yet another form of punishment for her from Grimes.
mm, that makes sense. He seems like that kind of
He
guy.
seems like that kind of guy. Oh, yeah, heavy chapter.
It was definitely something I feel like I related to as somebody who's been through academia, but um, I was actually surrounded by a lot of female professors and very supportive people um, in my programs. It's just there's a lot out there, lots of pressure, lots of aren't good enough. One thing that they did bring up was like looking at women who are in grad school and being like, oh, well, are you doing this instead of having kids and like
Mm.
all of that? There's those types of pressure. I knew women who were pregnant during their PhD programs. Like, there's just so many things in this chapter around how women move through the world.
Mhm.
And I really enjoyed how R.F. Kuang like really encapsulated that
Yeah.
and depicted it. I felt like it was very realistic and something that a lot of people, I hope a lot of you, um, really like took to heart.
Mhm.
I hope not a lot of you can like relate. I'm
Yeah.
not going to say
Yeah.
that I'm going to be naive and say that that's not true. I know a lot of people have had a lot of experiences, but this was a very meaty chapter and it was rough,
Yeah.
but I feel like it was I appreciated it.
Yeah. I do too. It gave us a lot of better understanding, and showed Alice opening up to Peter,
Mhm.
to have him understand what was really going on
Yeah.
and everything.
Mhm.
So we snap out of that storytelling flashback,
Mhm.
back into the Kripke's trap, and they're just talking more, the two of them, about plans on how to get out of there, the plans that they were making to be able to get out of hell, how to get Grimes back, talking about Grimes in general.
Mhm.
Um, and Alice is still kind of explaining, like, okay, so yeah, this is my backstory with Grimes. Like, here's all the really heavy stuff,
Mhm.
and everything. She goes, but let me tell you what, like, I was really thinking about on how to get him back out of hell.
Mhm.
And so she um, explained more about some of the research that she had done on
Mhm.
a Theslian witch called
Mhm.
Erectho,
Mhm.
who the story tells that she found a dead body, fills it with potions, and was able to raise it from the dead.
Mhm.
So basically, she did all the research for it, and this was Alice's plan for Grimes. And as soon as I read this, I was like, oh my God, though, I mean, they had a
A bucket.
bucket
Mhm.
in his coffin, though. Like,
Mhm.
what? Like, okay, you're not going to have Grimes's actual body. Like, he exploded.
There is no body. There's
There's,
organs,
there's,
maybe.
yeah,
There's goop.
there's goop, there's an eyeball, there's some intestines that were jump
Mm.
ropes. I remember that
Oh yeah.
very
Mm.
vividly.
Yeah.
And so, Peter's like, wait, but how are you going to do this then? And she goes, I didn't really think all of it through, not fully, some of it, and admits, like, I just wanted revenge. Finally says the words that I wanted revenge. And I was like, okay, we're seeing even more of her and whatnot. And this is also where I was getting an inkling, maybe a little bit of foreshadowing. Are we going to see a Frankenstein like body?
Hmm.
Is she going to have sewn together cadavers to
It's
put
possible.
Grimes's soul into this, like,
Would it attach to that?
monstrosity? I don't
If
know,
it's not
but
him?
like, I wouldn't put it past Alice.
I mean, I wasn't shocked when she was like, I didn't really think this through. No, really?
Really?
Here we are. That was pretty clear
Stuck
from the
in hell.
beginning. Like, it's just so interesting. She talks about it being revenge, but then she still wants his approval. She's still like, I wanted him to
Oh,
think that this was a clever thing, a clever plan,
yep,
and I'm just like, girl, we just listened to how he took advantage of
yep.
you and ruined your career because you wouldn't sleep with him, and you still want him to think you're smart. Like,
Hmm.
oh,
It's very infuriating. Um, Peter also gives a confession
Yep.
within this confession of
Yep.
Alice's, though,
Mhm.
that he was going to have Alice trade him in the exchange
Mhm.
for Grimes.
I saw that coming, honestly.
Yeah.
When I saw that, the notes and she said, um, like, "Oh, he's gonna exchange me."
Me.
I got the feeling I've always had the feeling that Peter wasn't a betrayer. Like, she saw that in him, I think because of the way Grimes had pitted them against each other.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought he might sacrifice himself,
So
and
for
that
her.
might be why he had those notes.
Hmm.
Or that it was either going to be that, or he was gonna, if she tried to bring sacrifice herself for Grimes, he would have sent her
Her
back
back.
instead of
Mm,
Grimes.
some way to like save her. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and then he also admits that he's the one that killed Grimes.
So who
Who
the
killed
killed
Grimes?
Grimes? Like, I'm so
So
confused.
confused.
Everybody wants to confess now, so
Everybody's guilty.
well, they are, even Grimes,
I mean,
to
they
be
are.
honest.
They're in hell.
Mhm.
This is true. So then we turn the page to the next chapter, and can I tell you, I was so excited because it's finally Peter's
It
perspective.
is. It
I was
is.
so happy.
We needed more. We knew there was something going on with Peter.
Yes.
Um, but we hadn't gotten a glimpse of him because we could only see what Alice saw or what her
Yes.
perception was of him. And so I I feel like we had heavy chapter, little relief, another
Another
heavy
heavy
chapter.
chapter. Yes.
We see Peter being privileged, which
Yes.
we knew.
Yep.
He was given everything.
Hmm.
He's dubbed a genius at 5 years old.
Yes.
Um, but
His
then,
tutor's jaw dropping on the ground.
oh my gosh, can you imagine? But then we see that he is sick.
Hmm. Yes. Yep. He's got a chronic illness, Crohn's disease.
Mhm. Which affects your intestines.
Hmm.
It's an autoimmune disease. And something I didn't share in the intro episode is that I also have an autoimmune disease. I have type 1 diabetes. So, this chapter in particular, um, I really resonated with
Hmm.
because I am constantly monitoring my own health. Things can change on a dime, much like they do for Peter.
Hmm.
And, I can be fine. And then 15 minutes later, I feel absolutely terrible. So, going through that, I wasn't as young as Peter was when I got my illness. But I can only imagine.
Hmm.
He describes being the different child,
Yeah.
and then having that his birthday party.
That one was heartbreaking for me.
Yes.
I mean, I've been along the journey as your friend through,
Mhm.
your diagnosis and your journey and everything through the type 1 diabetes. As a teacher though,
Mhm.
having the perspective of young children, I have had a student diagnosed at a very young age with type 1 diabetes as well. And I've seen other kids come through my classroom as well year after year with different things.
Mhm.
But having that birthday party scene when he was 8 years old, and he
Mhm.
was having this great time. It was his first major social interaction.
Yeah.
He was having the best time of his life. And then one conversation with one little girl and mentioned that her mom wanted her to go because invalids, using the word of invalids. And now, mind you,
Mhm.
would every 8-year-old automatically know what that word meant? No.
Yeah.
Would they probably,
Mhm.
after the party, internalize that for a little while? Maybe. Ask,
Mhm.
a
Yep.
trusted adult later on?
Mhm.
Probably. Like, so and so said this, blah, 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 but invalid, what does that mean? I don't
Mhm.
understand. And then
Yes.
there's that parenting moment of like, okay,
Mhm.
how do I make this okay for my little?
Mhm.
Well, they didn't need to have that moment because Peter is a genius. So he already
Mhm.
knew what this meant. And it automatically, completely changed
Yes.
the perspective. He
Mhm.
felt singled out. He knew everybody was there out of pity.
Yep.
He felt it in his gut. He knew that's what it was. And from that moment on, put a wall up
Mhm.
against himself and the world because he never wanted to be hurt like that again.
Well, and he didn't wanna be we talk
Perceived.
this entire book is about perception, right?
Mhm.
He didn't wanna be perceived like that,
Mm-mm.
and he threw himself into studies and
Yes.
school, and we can understand why Peter loves math.
Yep.
It is always the same.
Makes
You
sense.
have logical steps, it's
Yep.
not like his
It's
life.
reliable.
It's not like his life where
Mhm.
he could do one thing one day and it works, and the next day it doesn't work, and he has an up and then a
Yep.
down. Math is consistent,
Yep.
and so we can understand why he chose that path.
Yeah.
But then we see him grow up, and
Yeah.
he is in remission a little bit, and he gets
Yeah.
healthy, and
They
he's
found a
able to make
medication
friends.
that worked for a while. Yep. Um, and he learns how to row in Oxford too. Like you get
Hmm.
to see him like partake in activities for the
Yeah.
first time too.
Which is a big thing for a kid who has spent their childhood basically alone,
Yes.
and in and out of hospitals, doctor's appointments,
Mhm.
medications. Like, being able to feel like a normal child
Mhm.
is invaluable in those
Yeah.
situations, or even just a normal person. Like, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 18 years old, so I was, pretty much an adult when I first got diabetes, but not having to like think about
Mhm.
your food all the time. Like, I have to constantly think about what I'm eating, what I'm doing, where I'm going to be. Like,
Mhm.
hopefully you won't, but sometimes you might hear a buzz or a beep, and it's probably me. I call myself a cyborg because something's always going off. But like, that takes up brain space,
Mhm.
and like having to think about those things, or like when he's in remission, maybe
Mhm.
not have to think about them as much,
Yeah.
frees up
Yeah.
some of his you know inner capacity for
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
or emotions, or
Yeah.
thinking about other things.
Yeah. Well, and his parents had called his disease when he got diagnosed with it the beast. And so when he goes through these years of remission and everything, he does kind of get lulled into a sense of security,
Mhm.
knowing that the other shoe could drop at any moment. He's
Yep.
very realistic about that.
Mhm.
But you do get to see that sense of ease with him and everything. But then he does have those lapses.
Mhm.
And because of that one instance at his 8th birthday party, though,
Mhm.
he decides that he's not going to tell anybody the reason why, like
Yes.
he's missing classes or that he's been in the hospital. And he lets that become a persona.
Mhm.
And he even says in there, geniuses could be excused for any
Yes.
idiosyncrasies. And
Mhm.
so what we saw as this flippancy, this like disregard for
Mhm.
relationships and other commitments and things like that, it was really just him protecting himself.
Well, and him not like showing up to the beers with Alice or things
Mhm.
like that. Now we know it was probably because he wasn't feeling
Yeah.
well, and not because he forgot.
Yeah.
But he wants to keep up that persona that he
Mhm.
is a genius, and yeah, he's a little flighty, he's a little flaky, but he's super smart, so we're
Yep.
just going to let it go. That's just Peter.
Yeah, that's just Peter.
And like, I get not wanting to be perceived as like the
Mhm.
sickly one all the time, but there are some people you got to tell.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
Yeah.
just be silently
Mhm.
suffering. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's important.
Yeah. One of the things that he, to this whole persona conversation that we're having, something that stuck with me is that he wanted to be remembered as Peter the Great and not
Mhm.
Peter the Sick.
Mhm.
And that one kind of struck. I was like, oh gosh, yeah.
Mhm.
Like I were in, if I were in his shoes,
Mhm.
I would not want to be remembered as just the sick person all the
Mhm.
time. I get
Well,
that.
and then everybody questioning everything. Oh, is he getting special treatment because
Yeah.
of this? And it's like, on the one hand, it's not special treatment.
Mm-mm.
I need some accommodations, but
Yes.
like, also, I felt really bad also for Peter, because he's constantly being told what he can and cannot do.
Do.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that because of this. You can't do this, you can't do that. It is absolutely maddening
Mm-mm.
to be told, especially by people who don't have your illness,
Mhm.
what you can and cannot do because
Mhm.
of your illness.
Mhm.
Like, just having like doctors or parents or just random people like, look at, can you eat that? Yes, I'm pretty sure I can manage my own disease. Um, but
Yeah.
seeing Peter struggle with that, like, I really, really related to that.
Yeah. I mean, his own parents didn't want him to go to Cambridge, and he
Mhm.
was not. He was like, "No, my disease is not getting in the way of that."
Mhm.
And as soon as he walked onto campus, he fell in love with it. So he definitely made the right choice for himself,
Mhm.
and everything. And he met Alice,
Yes.
and that struck a chord with him as well, and everything. I think the heartbreaking moment was when the medication stopped working, and he was no
Yeah.
longer in remission,
Mhm.
and he had to tell Grimes.
Mhm.
And that was the first time he had told somebody in academia about
Mhm.
his diagnosis. Um, and then Grimes strikes again because, he can't just be awful to Alice. He's
Oh,
awful
yeah,
to
we knew.
everybody,
We knew
right?
he's an equal opportunity
Oh,
villain here.
100%. But Peter's out for surgery having, was it like part of his gallbladder removed or something like that?
Part of his colon.
Colon, thank you. That's what it was.
Mhm.
Colon. He's having most of his colon removed. He's out having the surgery and recovering. He gets back, and everybody's celebrating Grimes on the day of his return
Mhm.
for having this publication in the Arcana for the Russell paradox.
Mhm.
It's Peter's research.
Yeah.
He stole
Mhm.
Peter's research.
Mhm.
And to put the cherry on top, not only did he steal Peter's research, but then Peter has to make the proofs for the final
Mhm.
draft of it for the publication. And now let me remind you that Grimes finds all of this beneath him. So he doesn't check his own work. He doesn't have anybody put their names on the work that's being checked. He doesn't have them log any of it, anything like
Mhm.
that. Doesn't give anybody credit. So there's
Yep.
no co authorship, nothing. So Peter decides, you know what? I ain't getting credit for this. I'm not going to put my full effort into it,
Mhm.
and intentionally doesn't write the closing of the circle that
Mhm.
Alice thinks she
Didn't.
intentionally didn't
Mhm.
close.
Yep.
So it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Who's right?
He like Grimes is so
Oh,
diabolical.
he
Like,
makes my
so
skin crawl.
one thing I wrote down was but you look just fine is what he says to Peter. And that is one of like the worst things you can say to a chronically ill
Yeah.
person is you look fine just because you can't like see what's going on with
Yeah,
me.
masking is a very real thing.
And being chronically ill will change you. Like
Yep.
changes your tolerances, it changes the way that you perceive or function in the world. Like
Yeah.
I chronically ill, like I'm literally ill every minute of the day. Now, am I feeling that way all the time? No, but I
Hmm.
pushed through lots of things that other people probably wouldn't if they only did it, if they only had to
Yeah.
experience it once. So for him to be like, well, you look just fine. Well, look, here's this scar from where I just had surgery. Now, again, Peter is not blameless in this. He should have told them that
Hmm.
he had that one, he was way too dangerous to like not do anything until
Hmm.
somebody found him on the floor.
Yeah.
Two,
Oh
he
my
was in the
God.
hospital for like 2 weeks and didn't say anything to anyone. And then had surgery.
Yeah.
Like that is a lot
Yeah.
of time to just not be there.
Yeah.
And him not telling Grimes anything, like big mistake.
Yeah.
Now, should Grimes have taken his
Oh God,
research?
no.
No, of
No.
course not. And him being like, "Well, you weren't doing anything with it." Like that's not an excuse. But like you need you need to be able to communicate with at
Hmm.
least somebody.
Yeah.
The other thing I noted was nobody came looking.
Mm-mm.
Nobody came looking for him. And
No.
that is also heartbreaking.
Because he didn't form relationships.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But like
Yeah.
it's just like that just feels ooh, sorry. That just feels rough.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that there's like sometimes the anxiety of having an invisible illness is worse than the illness. Like you're
Hmm.
like, oh, I can handle I can handle a high blood sugar or low blood sugar or whatever, but like sometimes during like work meetings, I'm like, oh crap, I don't want my insulin pump to start beeping in the middle of this presentation. Like the anxiety
Mhm.
about it is worse than like the actual symptoms. And so I can see that with him, and then Grimes also likes to put this cherry on top, which is try not to feel so sorry for yourself.
Mm. Oh, I cannot stand this man.
And
Thank God he's fictional.
that is, it's like I don't feel sorry for myself.
Mm.
I'm dealing with something difficult,
Mhm.
and I'm like yeah, it happened. What there's nothing I can do. He didn't ask for Crohn's, I didn't ask for diabetes. Like it just happened.
It happened.
And you can tell like with Grimes' attempt at
Mhm.
comforting Peter, which is nothing at all, like just how out of touch he is
Yeah.
with his students, with how these things work, and like it's just enraging. Um so we kind of get that like background on Peter, and we
Mhm.
see this like vicious cycle of burnout. So
Yeah.
like not only is he working so hard on his research, but he's also trying to stay healthy and
Yeah.
then having bouts of illness. Like the burnout cycle is so hard.
Mhm.
And I wrote down here a portion of your brain is always thinking about like your illness, and are
Mhm.
you managing it right, and is it going to create a problem, and oh, I have this deadline, but
Yeah.
also I feel like crap and I need to be able to
Mhm.
work on this, but I can't focus because I feel like I think most of his descriptions were like massive cramping in his
Mhm.
abdomen, and like I don't know if everybody's experienced that, but gas pain can be terrible. Like
Yeah. I
I
can't
can't
imagine.
imagine.
I can't. I think that the continuation to the next chapter, like they've both given their backstories so that they can understand each other better with their
Hmm.
relationships with Grimes and everything. Um, and I'm still just as frustrated with both of these characters. I still not. I was like, yes, this is going to be the moment where they're like, okay, he's a really crappy person. Let's not go for bringing him back anymore. No, nope. Mm-mm. They're still giving him the benefit of the doubt.
At least Alice is.
It's just, I got frustrated.
Oh yeah. She mm,
Yep. Um, but you're right. Peter does have that saving grace moment. He always does.
I
He always does.
know. I like
He
Peter.
he says to her, "I think anyone could have made us good magicians.
Mhm.
He just convinced us that we had to suffer for it."
Yes. And that's another big thing in academia, especially in post-secondary PhD programs is like people wear suffering, and I think I've said this before, like a badge of honor. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I didn't sleep last night and I've graded so many
Yes.
papers and all of this stuff." And it's like
I'm running on 20 cups of coffee.
mhm. And some professors make it like, "Oh, I suffered, you also have to
Yeah.
suffer." Like it's just a rite of passage, and it's not. It doesn't
Mm-mm.
have to be. And it
Yeah.
and they're convinced by somebody who they respect
Yep.
that it does. And
Hmm.
that is so just like sad.
Yeah. Um, and then through all of this or whatever, Peter has found a way out of the illusion because his mathematical brain.
Mhm.
But there's a caveat.
Well, of course there is. There always is, isn't
There
there?
always is. Um, it will only work on one person
Mhm.
because there's like this loophole because he's the mathematician
Mhm.
and logically he knows that it won't really work because a paradox is like a destination, it's like a staircase or whatever,
Mhm.
and he can see that it's not real because
Yeah.
it's mathematical and he knows it and everything, but Alice
Mhm.
doesn't, and so Alice
Mhm.
can use it to get it out where he
He won't
can't.
believe the lie.
He won't believe the
Which
lie.
is what they talk about in the beginning, right?
Yep.
Magic is telling lies
Yep.
about the world, and he can see
Yep.
that it's a lie.
Yep. So he forces the one backpack on her with all the supplies
Mhm.
and makes her leave.
Which I was like, she's not gonna do that, and
She
then she did,
does.
and I was like, oh, this is not okay.
Okay. Okay. So that was a very, it was a very, like, very quick chapter. It was
Oh,
so
yeah.
short. Like,
Mhm.
that's literally all that we got from it. Alice is now outside of this trap, and she's like, it's almost like she's frozen in time here. She doesn't know how to move on. She doesn't want to leave Peter behind. She's just kind of stuck with this like inner turmoil or whatever, and she's reflecting more on Grimes because he's the, you know, main factor of the whole situation that they're in or whatever.
Mhm.
Um and so like we get a little bit more backstory here
Yes.
just on
Mhm.
Grimes himself. Um I knew he was I I don't really care for this man. We know we
We're
don't
not
care for
supposed
this
to.
man.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to or whatever. This just allows us to, hate's a strong word, but I'm going to use it because at this moment I do.
Yeah.
You hate. This is a character that we love to hate. Um, but like, I have to question because Grimes, when he's communicating with her prior to her arriving at Cambridge, would only write to her. He would never call her on the phone and have conversations,
Mhm.
which I found to be odd.
Yeah.
Like, it had to be written communication. He had to, on 3 separate occasions, confirm her arrival date. And I'm like, okay, are you just not able to keep up with things? Like, you don't have a secretary, you're bad at this,
Well,
or,
he's using and losing them.
uh huh, yep, he sure is. Um, and then when they do finally meet, like, she can't make eye contact with him, and I was like, I was sitting there wondering to myself, like, is this because, like, she idolizes him and she's like, "Oh my
Mm.
gosh, I'm in this
Yeah.
room with this man," and, oh,
Yeah.
or was it something else, like, I don't know, was there something alchemic happening here? I don't know,
Mm.
it was just not,
Yeah.
my brain went there just because I already have a perception of who he is from what we've
Mhm.
already learned about him versus
Mhm.
this. Um and everything. And we also find out that Grimes, like her, is from America.
Yeah, I was like, "Did we know that? Did we know he was American? I didn't.
I did
I
not know
didn't."
this. From Lubbock, Texas.
Which is funny, my husband lived there for a year.
My sister-in-law's from there. Um, but he got his claim to fame as being the War Office's warlock.
Yeah.
His reputation from that time gave him unlimited funding, but he
Mhm.
could not like keep up
Mhm.
with how quickly the things changed. We're talking about how Elsbeth is seeing changes in technology
Mhm.
and all of that kind of stuff, the changes in fashion, keeping up with,
Mhm.
her television through the Lethe. He can't keep up with it, and people are outpacing him left and right. And
Mhm.
so we're seeing him lose his spotlight,
Mhm.
which, although I hate the man, I am grateful for that perspective because it leads you to understand just why he is as despicable as he is,
Mhm.
why he uses his
Yeah.
scholars under
Mhm.
him and everything. Because his whole goal is to make a legacy and a name for himself.
Yep. Mhm.
Um, and he knows how to use and abuse the people around him for sure. Because Alice feels indebted to him as the first person that said yes and
Mhm.
everything. And he's making that connection. Like, we're both from America
Mhm.
and everything. Don't let them make you feel like you don't belong.
That was one of the questions that I wrote down is do we really think Grimes believed in Alice or did he see her as someone he could manipulate?
Hmm.
And it feels very much like he saw somebody
Yeah.
he could manipulate. And I also think seeing this and how quickly he was left behind shows to a degree why he lets the students do
Yeah.
everything because he can't keep up,
Yep.
why he doesn't check things because he doesn't necessarily know how to check
Yep.
them. And so he has all of these students doing all of these things,
Yep.
and then he gets to take the credit because they're under him.
Yes.
And so that
I
keeps
agree.
this persona and this legacy going while he doesn't have to do hardly any work
Hmm.
and he doesn't have to keep up with anything because then in his own mind he's the greatest of the
Yep.
greats and he doesn't feel stupid.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to do any of the work because he got unlimited funding. Like, that's not going
Mhm.
away for what he did in the past.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we get that reminiscing as she's sitting outside and everything. So you imagine that that's not taking very long, um, because the Kripkes arrive as she's still sitting outside of this trap,
Mhm.
and all we hear
Mhm.
are Peter's screams. Now,
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you, I say this for every book I read and every movie I watch.
Mhm.
Okay? I always say, if I do not physically read it on the page or see it on the screen, they ain't truly dead. Okay?
Mhm.
They may have died.
If there's no body, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Okay?
I wrote that down. We don't have a body, so I don't believe he's dead. I guess we wouldn't. He'd just be dust, which I was like, so maybe I wouldn't be able to see a body, but I'm still keeping my reservations.
I'm keeping my reservations because he's screaming, sure. They could be slowly just draining him of his blood because they want his blood to do magic. Okay?
But I also
I'm
think
just saying
he
he's not dead or his death is not sticking.
he could not, or he could be more valuable to them
Yes.
alive than dead, is my theory. Is like he's still alive. He's not a shade, right? And they want to get back up top.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's more valuable alive than dead. Sure, could they be like taking some of his blood? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. But like I I think if they truly want to return, Peter is more valuable alive than he
Mm-hmm.
is dead. So yeah, we heard some screams, but there's no body. So I don't think that's in the cards.
Yeah. I said he's either actually not dead or, I quote, death doesn't actually stick.
I don't know. Elspeth said if you die here, you die.
But magic
So
is a loophole and you can make it what you want. I'm just
sure.
saying. I'm
I
just
I
saying.
won't
I
extinguish your
didn't
flame of hope.
I didn't see it on the page, guys.
Mhm.
But from that scream, um,
Mhm.
there's a Chinese phrase and it's written in the Chinese figures or
Mhm.
whatever, and it's translated literal into broken heart. And I wrote this down because like this was gut wrenching for me, like
Mhm.
seeing Alice's true feelings.
Mhm.
Um, so broken heart meant literally all of one's internal organs and viscera, and for a heart to break meant that everything felt twisted and ripped apart and spilled onto the sand. A heart didn't just break, a heart yanked out the rest of you. So,
Mhm.
like, she never fully admitted it, I don't even think to
Mhm.
herself, but in this
No.
moment, hearing his pain, she's assuming the Kripkes are here, he's
Oh yeah.
dead. That's what
Mhm.
her assumption is. She's not the reader, not seeing the death on the page
Yeah.
like we are.
Mhm.
Um, but that, like, it hit her like
Yeah. Mhm.
she had feelings for him.
Oh, definitely. I think we saw that from the beginning. She
Yeah.
just has been lying to herself the whole time, or like
Yeah.
didn't want to have that
Yep.
like realization because
Mhm.
she thought he didn't like her and all of this stuff. So
Yeah.
like that was that was rough.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now she's kind of in this like hazy state of like grief and
Mhm.
reminiscing over Peter. And it's kind of a bummer in a sense from like the reader's perspective because we already didn't see greed, we already didn't see
Mhm.
wrath, and so now like she's running through this deserty area, and as she's going by cruelty, you know, it fucked with you on purpose, like she just
Yeah.
says that, like we don't even get like really a description or
Mhm.
anything. As she's going past tyranny, she just sees caged shades there,
Mhm.
and she describes that and everything. So like she's just in this like haze of
Mhm.
like trying to, like
Yeah.
she's got kind of like no sense of really purpose. Like what's the point of
Mhm.
living? Like I need to go on because, you
Yeah.
know, Peter gave up his life for me, but like you're actually seeing like her real shock and trauma response in this
Mhm.
moment.
Well, and I think something I wrote down too was like most. I've already said I'm kind of disappointed we haven't seen some of these other courts,
Yeah.
especially the deeper courts. Like, I feel
Yes.
like those would be more important, not less important. But mostly we get an understanding that we're in a different court by like the climate or the
Yeah.
landscape changing and not like really the shades. Like, we see
Mhm.
the caged shades, or, it's just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
Like, I was so invested
Yeah.
in the courts and going
The
through them
structure of
and
them.
how everything worked, and it feels like the further we've gotten into the book, the less important they've been,
Mhm.
and I'm kinda sad I don't get, I mean, this sounds terrible, but I don't get to see cruelty
Mhm.
or tyranny or, like, how those truly work.
Yeah, it's all desert space, it feels like to me, with like
Mhm.
something else happening.
And so it just doesn't, I don't know. It's just kind of annoying. But
Yeah.
we finally see her like removing the rose-colored glasses about Grimes,
Yeah.
and she's like finally like woken up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like her purpose here is no longer about getting him. She
Mhm.
has to go on. She's got to find a way to get
Mhm.
out because Peter gave up his life for
Mhm.
her. And so she comes across this clock tower um, outside of the eighth court. She finally
Mhm.
like just stumbles her way there in this like
Mhm.
hazed state or whatever. And she's greeted by Erinys and these other
Mhm.
creatures. And she's asked, what oaths have you broken?
Mhm.
And everything. And she's basically saying like all of them. She's like screaming, and he's
Mhm.
saying like it's not enough and all these kind of things. And so she's like she's at her wits end. Like you can see like this is her moment of
Mhm.
like really
Yeah.
breaking
Mhm.
and everything. And she finally just says, I was just trying. I only I was only doing my best. And this entity like laughs at her and
Mhm.
basically said, well, I guess if you went in, go ahead.
You're like,
Really? It was that easy? What?
so strange.
Oh, and Archimedes
Yeah,
is
I was
here.
gonna say, and Archimedes comes back. So yeah, Archimedes shows up, but he's not like fine.
No.
Like, he's kind of messed up.
Mhm.
We don't know where Elspeth is. Like, what is going on? And she like asks him for help, and she's like, I'm talking to a
It's the
cat.
cat.
I would definitely do that. But
Yes.
like, I'm more worried about what happened to him and where is Elspeth, because
Yes.
that's where we last saw them, is together.
Yeah. And Elspeth clearly being like, get get off my boat. Like there was not a
Mhm.
good relationship. And Archimedes is always there to help and to
Yeah.
guide whoever the
Mhm.
right person is at the time, whether it's
Mhm.
been Alice and Peter or if it's been Elsbeth.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Mhm.
okay, Archimedes seems to be the bridge between them. So like it kind of
Mhm.
gives me hope that Elsbeth is gonna like we're gonna see her again before the end of this book.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Like we have to.
I'm sure we will.
Um, so the last chapter in our section, chapter 26, she's Alice is with Archimedes, and this shade approaches her and confirms her theory that she is in the city of Dis.
Mhm.
Um, and offers to show her to the gates to be able to like get like into the city and
Mhm.
everything. And she kind of was like, this seems too good. Like, you're just going to guide me there. The only
Yeah.
thing he wants, just like Elsbeth did, was an update on life. Like, he doesn't
Mhm.
have the Lethe to show him. So, like, what's the music like? What's the fashion like? How's food
Mhm.
changed? What chalk are we using?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
everything. And then she's like, well, what can I call you to? And I'm kind of fuzzy here because it seemed like he didn't want to give his real name.
Yeah.
He
Mhm.
says John Gratis.
Mhm.
Um, But it just didn't feel like he was being honest there.
No. And that makes me think he did something bad, and
Yes.
he is infamous.
Yes.
Like, he knows people would know
Yes.
his name if
And
he said it.
so like they wouldn't offer the information that he wants. They
Mhm.
wouldn't, you know, be a partner per se
Mhm.
with him and everything. And so we're learning a little bit about Dis through Gratis as they're
Mhm.
walking through. Um, he seems extremely excited by Alice's tale. Like she's telling him everything. So I'm getting more of this like I wouldn't call it an ick factor, but I'm definitely like
Oh, I wrote down
suspicious.
John Gratis seems like a creeper. Straight up. That is what I wrote in my notes. He seems like a creeper. I don't oh, I also wrote down, is he an illusion? Like part of
Mm.
me was like, because we just got done with like the crypt keys, could he be
Mhm.
an illusion that they're trying to like use to trap her?
Mm.
Um I I don't think he is, but like that popped into my brain is like, why is he so interested in her? Why is this
Mhm.
like, it just seemed a little too much.
Yeah. I also wrote down here that the way he's like interviewing her
Mhm.
and asking for all these details, it felt like in a previous life he was either like a reporter or a writer or like a novelist as
Mm.
well. I kind of was getting those kind of vibes. So I was trying
Mhm.
to put like, okay, if you're in Dis, the eighth court of hell, you've got to probably be one of the like really baddies, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
you're notorious for something. So I was trying to put that historically with like a writing, like I'm trying to connect those
Mhm.
things. I haven't got there yet. I'll let you know if there's an update on that.
Yeah. I can see that. He very much like tries to like get so much information out of her.
Mhm.
Um I I wrote down like in this they talk about like betrayers,
Mhm.
traitors, and oath
Breakers.
breakers.
Yep.
So I'm like, what could he have done?
Mhm.
But I think it's also interesting the depiction we get of this and how beautiful it is.
Yes.
And, everybody like the typical depiction of hell is like fire and brimstone and
Mhm.
torture and all of this, but then there's this like beautiful magnificent city in
Yeah.
the middle.
A gleaming white marble castle.
Which
Holy crap.
seems like the opposite of what you would
Yeah.
expect. And for it to be the deepest part of hell
Yes.
too, like this is where all the terrible, terrible people live. And they have the most beautiful part where everything else was like, from what we
Mhm.
saw, like sand
Uh-huh.
and things like that. I also didn't think about this until this very second, but the whole campus thing gone.
Gone.
Like
Yeah.
it's cruel, the inner courts, cruelty, whatever we saw of tyranny, not even
Not I. Mm-mm.
remotely campus like. So
Yeah.
that illusion has dissipated
Disappeared.
as
Yep.
well. Um, but then she also asks him what he did, and
Mhm.
that's a no no.
Big no no.
And it's the second time she's done it, and she
Yes.
knew she shouldn't have done it, and she did it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the worst of the worst are here in Dis, and the very last thing we hear in this chapter is you can make confessions, or you can take confessions, sorry,
Mhm.
if they're freely offered.
Mhm.
That's permitted. But if you wish to survive, remember this one rule about Dis: never ask.
And whenever something like that is pointed out, we know she's gonna ask. She's gonna
Yeah,
ask,
she's gonna
right?
ask.
She's gonna
She's not
ask.
gonna listen. Yeah. So we are left with her finally in the eighth court of hell. It's her and John Gratis and Archimedes. And I'm sitting here pondering how is she gonna get herself out now?
Yeah.
She's made it as far as she can
Mhm.
go without being right there with the Lord of Hell himself, King Yama, Hades,
Whatever.
whatever you
Mhm.
shall name him. And right now, I'm kind of at a loss. Like, she's gone through so much. She's given up on the Grimes thing. She's grieving over Peter. She's sitting here in self reflection.
Mhm.
What's going to be her new, like, what's her new MO? Like, what are we doing? How are we getting
Mhm.
out of here?
Yeah. This section we focused a lot on getting to know Grimes and Peter, and I feel like we have a better, more well-rounded view of things now. It's not just like Alice's perspective,
Hmm.
and we get to see like why Peter was so flighty
Yeah.
and why like he thought certain things about her, why he
Hmm.
stopped kind of like engaging with her. Um and confirmed my suspicions that they were pitted against each other from the
Yes.
beginning. We get to see like the danger setting in with the crypt keys and how they're trying to trap people, and
Hmm.
obviously what's up with Peter. And now she's realizing and
Yeah.
reconsidering everything she ever wanted or what she thought she wanted and why
Hmm.
she's really there. I know this section for me, like I resonated with Alice, but I resonated more with Peter and his
Mhm.
backstory and how
Mhm.
difficult things can be for somebody that's different or has a chronic illness. And Grimes is definitely worse than we thought. I thought he was pretty
He's
bad,
despicable.
and he just keeps getting worse. But as we go into the next section, I need to know what happened to Elspeth.
Yep.
Also Archimedes and Peter. I need to know that better be answered by the end of the book. I mean, we are at the end.
Yes.
Next section, but no one better hurt Elspeth or Archimedes. But
Archimedes.
I also hate that we moved through the courts too
We
fast.
did really quickly and everything. So, um, catch us next time for the final section. We'll be reading chapters 27 through the end of the book, which is 35. And in the meantime, leave us some of your comments, theories, some of your reactions to what we've been reading. And we look forward to wrapping up the book with you.